Imagine this scenario. You've got success. You've worked your whole life in a very tough and rigorous field. You're following the path that you always plan to walk down. And while it's hard, you've reached the point where you've made it. And then in a moment, your life changes. Something devastating happens. And you're told that your career, your future, and even your mobility will never be the same. Imagine hitting a brick wall when you thought you knew exactly what your future looked like. This is the story of our guest today. This is a story of resilience, it's a story of forgiveness, and it's a story of self-compassion. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Her Business Podcast. I'm Susie Daphnis, I'm the CEO at Her Business, and I am your host. Welcome to episode 301. Now, just last week, we celebrated a big milestone with the release of episode 300, and to celebrate, I went into the archives and I pulled out 5 all-star interviews with women who are truly changing the game of business in their respective niches. We had Amy Porterfield speaking on limiting beliefs and what stepping into your version of success looks like. We had Marie Forleo on the power of redefining success on your terms. Danielle Laporte on how to align your business goals with what truly matters to you. Kim Kiyosaki on financial independence and embracing the mindset of a business owner. And Gabby Bernstein on aligning with your highest potential and choosing to take action that is true to you. So definitely go and check out that episode, and please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you enjoy it. Now, you can catch that episode at herbusiness.com/300 or head over to herbusinesspodcasts.com for access to all 300 episodes. So this episode today is one that you definitely want to hear, because this is a story of the power of self-compassion over unimaginable hardship. Our guest today is the truly inspiring Dr. Olivia Ong. She is a pain medicine specialist and health coach with 15 years of clinical experience, and she has spoken on stages all over the world, including the TEDx stage in Melbourne. She's a leader and an inspiration to so many, and she's a beloved member of the Her Business Network. And today you're going to hear Olivia's story, and one that's kind of hard to hear, but it's not a story of just pain and hardship. It is also a story of self-love. It's a story of resilience, and it's a story of overcoming immense challenges through the power of self-compassion. Now, I know that you're listening, you are likely a woman business owner. And so if you've experienced burnout, if you have had to rely on your own resilience, and if you have perhaps been a little slack in your own self-compassion, then listen up, because what Olivia has to say could be truly life-changing. Olivia, hi, and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Susie.
I'm very excited about this conversation. It's perfectly in line with our theme this month inside of Her Business, which is about us and taking care of us personally, because we are the most important part of our business. And you, Olivia, have a personal story about resilience that I think is truly incredible. And if you feel comfortable talking about it, and I'm going to assume you are because you're here, I would love to know, could you retell that really quickly and tell us how you rebuilt your life and stayed resilient even after hitting like a really, really low point?
Yeah, absolutely. So my journey to resilience and self-compassion began way back in 2008 when my life changed in an instant. Back then, I was a young, ambitious doctor, always pushing myself to the limit, believing that resting was for the weak. Then one day, I'm sure we've all had those days, then one day everything just stopped. I was hit by a reversing car and suffered a devastating spinal cord injury. So doctors told me I will never walk again, never practice medicine again. So basically everything I had worked for, strived for, my medical career, my independence, my future, was suddenly uncertain. And at this point in time, I had just been married to my husband for 2 years. I mean, we've been married for over 15 years now, but at that time we were newlyweds. And at first, I did what many high achievers will do. I fought hard, thinking that sheer willpower would just fix everything. But I quickly realized that pushing through pain wasn't the answer, but being kind to myself was. So self-compassion, interestingly, became the key to my recovery. So instead of self-criticism, I learned to speak to myself with kindness. This was a language that I've never had to, a language that I wasn't familiar with. In the medical field, it's a very, self-critical world, and not just you criticizing yourself, everyone else was criticizing you as well. And instead of forcing progress, I focus on small, mindful steps forward, literally, because I had to relearn how to walk, just like a baby. When you observe a baby, they crawl and then they stand up for a little while, then they take baby steps. And that's what I had to do. And I spent a couple of years of intensive rehabilitation in Carlsbad, California. I had despite the grueling, intensive physical therapy that I had to endure for 5 hours, 5 days a week for 3 years. But it's Carlsbad, right? What can go wrong with Carlsbad and Southern California? Beautiful, beautiful part of the world, Southern California, near San Diego. And I healed, not just physically, emotionally, and spiritually as well. And I made lots of mindset shifts, accepted myself for who I am. So I not only regained movement, Susie, but just reclaim what my kind of true purpose in this life was to just help more people find themselves, and help themselves reclaim what used to be lost, because that's what I had to go through myself. And today I help others do the same, helping them, to heal, thrive, and lead, whether it's their own leadership or their business or career without burning out.
What an incredible story. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think even if we haven't been through that exact really big experience, we can relate to the idea of just thinking that willpower, pushing ourselves is how we're going to get results. And I found myself, Olivia, just even in your speaking, my nervous system started to calm. And so obviously that's the impact you have on the people that you're working with now. And you said a magic word at the end of the last sentence. You said the word burnout. And this is something that obviously is very high in your field, in the medical field, which is why you became a business coach for medical doctors and women in the medical profession. But those skills, what you're relaying, of course, applies to those listening to this show, which is women business owners. And I have found through having worked with thousands of women that we often don't recognize burnout until we are so deep into it that it's almost hard to come back. And so I'd love to know from your perspective, what are some of the early signs that might be like triggers for us to say, hey, something needs to change here?
Yeah, absolutely. That's so true, Susie. Burnout is very sneaky, very, very sneaky. People don't realize they're burnt out until they actually have hit rock bottom. So there are some early warning signs to look out for, definitely. And I always explain burnout in the form of energy bank accounts, because in the current economy, it's, it's quite relevant to people. So there are 3 top signs of burnout, or 3 early warning signs of burnout, The first sign is exhaustion. I'll explain in a little bit how that shows up. And they're sequential as well. It starts with exhaustion, and you might go, "Oh, this is normal. I'm just tired. I'm just, I'm just seeing way too many clients. I'm just tired." And then it follows on by this feeling of disconnection. So that's the second symptom is disconnecting from yourself and other people. And then the third symptom is probably the most devastating of the 3, and usually it's the last symptom, and usually gets people to take some action. That's probably not an early warning sign anymore. That's actually a sign that the body's telling you, like, please get help, kind of thing. So the third sign is loss of life purpose. Okay, and I'll explain a little in the form of energy bank account what this means. So as I said, the first sign is exhaustion. That means that your physical energy bank account is depleted, or just to use this example, it's withdrawn, and the bank has charged a lot of interest, so it's very overdrawn, right? In this case. So when a physical energy bank account is depleted, you will feel exhausted. You're just feeling drained and irritable and unable to engage fully in your work. And you start feeling physical symptoms like tension, headaches, insomnia, digestive issues, or even frequent colds due to chronic stress. That's a common one in business owners, because I do have a lot of business owner friends who go, I'm always like feeling of always getting this runny nose and colds, and I'm always getting tummy aches and headaches, and that's usually one of the first warning sign of burnout. And then the second, as I said, the second symptom is that disconnection between yourself and others. That's when your emotional energy bank account is depleted and overdrawn. So and how people manifest this in terms of, I guess, behavior and things will be increased cynicism, just feeling quite detached or resentful of your responsibilities. You start getting cranky at your kids, your husband, partner, you name it. And then your teams, start getting grumpy. Getting grumpy at your
dog.
At your team, the dog, even the dog, and sometimes even the coffee cup. And you're like, coffee cup? And you're like, it's just a coffee cup. But it's interesting how this manifests. And you start being cynical, like you start going, I hate this and environment where we're in. I hate this, I hate that. This all this resentful and cynicism, kind of pent up emotion starts to spill out, and you start feeling like you don't want to hang out with people anymore. Start feeling quite withdrawn, wanting to just stay at home. Nothing wrong with staying at home, but this is excessively staying at home and not wanting to socialize at all. And then the kids will probably stop speaking to you because you're just like isolating yourself, and your partner will just stop talking to you. That's kind of how it manifests. And people usually can kind of feel this because they realize that they are by themselves because no one else wants to talk to them anymore. And then the last symptom, which is the loss of life purpose, just this feeling of being stuck or trapped. No matter what you do, it's never enough. It's when your spiritual energy bank account just zaps you out, and it's just over withdrawn, and that's how you feel. And this is when people, a lot of my coaching clients, they come to me when they reach this stage. This last symptom, they always, because I coach a lot of doctors, and they always ask me like, oh, should I leave medicine? I'm just not feeling like I want to do this for the rest of my life. And perhaps that could be the business owners out there who probably be thinking, if they're burnt out and they have this third symptom, do I want to continue in this business? Should I just burn the business down and create a new one, or create a new offer, create a new, you know what I mean? There's many ways this can manifest. So in other words, burnout doesn't just affect your energy, it impacts your ability to think clearly and make sound decisions, as I've explained. And your brain just goes into this survival mode and becoming more reactive rather than strategic thinking. That's why I think self-awareness and early intervention for burnout is key for any business owner out there. Yeah.
One of our mantras, our tagline at Her Business is do what you love every day. And as you're speaking, and of course, as the head of the organization, I feel like I need to be true to that. Yes. And I could recognize myself in everything that you said there, having been through the exhaustion and then the disconnection, and then I don't know why I'm doing this, maybe I should just stop, etc. And Olivia, it hasn't happened just once in my 30 years of business. Like, there have been various times where I've had to reinvent myself and claim myself back and show myself. Sometimes I've just pushed through. Other times it has been doing what you said, which is having a little bit of self-compassion, having a little bit of distance. So I'm very keen to talk a little more about compassion, because you talk about compassionate leadership, and I know that many women struggle with being too hard on themselves, and they often tie their success, who they are, what they've achieved in this lifetime, with their business success. How can self-compassion, which you mentioned earlier was one of the ways that you healed yourself, be seen as a strength rather than a weakness? And how could we approach it?
Yeah, what I found over the last, I guess, couple of years that I've been in business myself, I've observed that not just women, women leadership, women in business are often, feeling that being tough on themselves equals to success. I gotta do this, I gotta do that, and strive harder equals success. But the opposite is in fact true, because self-compassion is not about lowering your standards, and it's about leading with clarity, resilience, and emotional intelligence. And I can't say enough, self-compassion is a muscle. You can't just like build you can't go to the gym and build your biceps and triceps straight away, right? You gotta keep building it up. So here are some of the benefits that self-compassion makes someone a better leader and business owner. So it reduces self-doubt. Instead of being paralyzed by fear of failure, you learn from your mistakes and you move forward faster because you value yourself a lot and you love yourself, right? And you trust yourself. It also enhances emotional intelligence. Leaders who are kind to themselves are also more empathetic and inspiring to their teams. And it strengthens decision-making. So because when you're in a burnout-free, regulated state, you make better, more confident choices.
Right.
And we can definitely teach this to, our team members or the clients we serve is through modeling and practice. So this is the work that I do. I work with leaders and business owners in the medical space to retrain their inner dialogue by shifting from this self-criticism to self-trust, self-support. So just like we coach athletes to master their craft, we can coach our minds to lead with self-compassion. Yeah, that's muscle. Yeah.
Good to know it's possible for all of us. Thank you for the work that you're doing, by the way. And I know that the women in the medical profession get sort of your attention, and it's an area but I know that you're working with business leaders across and women business owners across all areas. I want to talk a little further about the exhaustion and this idea that rest is a luxury, let's sleep next month, or that it should be something that you might feel guilty about if you're pulling, back the energy that you're putting towards growing your business. Can you explain what's happening actually on a biological level? Because this might not be something that we think about. What's happening on a biological level when we neglect self-care, and why is it that we really have to prioritize recovery and rest if we actually want to be more productive? Not just more compassionate, which you've just talked about, but actually more productive.
Absolutely, Susie. So when we push through exhaustion, and we've all been there, what happens in this scenario is that we activate our body's stress response, keeping us stuck in this fight or flight mode, as if there's a lion behind you, or saber-toothed tiger, or whatever animal you want to put it there. But it's just as if there's a lion stuck on your back, following you everywhere. And here's what happens when we don't prioritize recovery. We get cortisol overload. So chronic stress increases cortisol, leading to brain fog, like brain fogginess, inflammation, and exhaustion. And we do have, some of us are actually addicted to cortisol and dopamine. Cortisol is a big one. That's why we are addicted to busyness. So this is why examples. Cortisol causes all these problems like inflammation. So you have, all the illnesses and all the inflammatory diseases out there. So that's because of cortisol overload. And the second thing that happens when we don't prioritize recovery is decision fatigue, because the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain responsible for clear thinking, or executive function, shuts down. So even making simple decisions feel overwhelming. And we've all been there, right? Like, really, I can't choose which graphic I want to put on social media. Why is it taking a long time for me to decide? When we're trying to push ourselves,
and getting so stressed out about something pretty stupid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's one thing that can happen. And the third thing that can happen when we don't prioritize recovery is burnout becomes a cycle. And Susie, you explained that you've been through that. I've been through that. Burnout becomes this vicious cycle. When we neglect rest, stress accumulates, making us less productive, not more, because all those reasons that I've mentioned. And the truth is, rest isn't a luxury, it's a productivity tool. And I remember one of my previous coaches telling me this particular phrase: you got to slow down to speed up. I really love that. And I tell that to my patients, my clients, and whoever, anyone who's going through this phase of burnout, that you got to slow down to speed up. Even small recovery moments like taking 5 deep breaths, even taking a 10-minute break in your busy schedule, that helps to reset your nervous system, increase efficiency. So right now, when I have, coaching clients, I usually have a buffer of 15 minutes in between, just to have small recovery moments. Very, very crucial. And I'm
going to take a 10-minute break right after this interview, but we're not done yet. I'll get myself a cup of tea. Now, in the coaching that you do, what are small or practical shifts have you seen women make that make the most significant impact in this quest for avoiding burnout or avoiding getting to that breaking point?
Yeah, I think a lot of us high achievers are very ambitious. We're trying to do like a checklist of things for self-care. There's a checklist of things. There's a checklist of burnout, but it doesn't have to be that way though. We can take small, consistent actions which lead to big changes. And these are the 3 shifts that I found in myself, in my patients, in my coaching clients that make the biggest difference for busy people. So the first one is taking micro moments of self-compassion. And when you have this moment, you want to take 3 deep breaths and say, I am doing my best and that's enough. So this calms the nervous system in under 60 seconds. But this is also a muscle that you need to build. And you need to create this micro moment. So that's number 1. Number 2 is the no but strategy. I find this really helpful. I used to be one of those people pleaser that had no boundaries and say yes to everything, and we all have been there. So the no but strategy is, instead of saying yes to everything, try no, but I can help next week. This sets boundaries without guilt. And a lot of us set boundaries, do not set boundaries, and we feel really guilt, and after that we feel like we let ourselves down. Like, why do we even say yes to that? Why do we say yes to that? Yeah. And the third shift that really makes the most impact will be this self-compassionate check-in. Now, I've actually written a children's book about this whole exercise of Jojo the Kind Sloth, which is a true story where my son actually didn't do well for his spelling test and he started beating himself up, literally self-criticism and all that. And I got him to do an exercise like, if your best friend Tommy was to go through this challenge that you have, what will you say to Tommy? And Jojo the Kind Sloth, which is actually my son, will say, I will tell Tommy it'll be okay. You'll do better next time. But then I got Jojo, the character Jojo Kind Sloth's mom, got him to reflect. Did you say that to yourself? What did you say to yourself? And then he kind of really had this self-awareness. Oh my goodness, that I was mean to myself. I need to be kinder to myself. So this is the self-compassionate check-in, which starts this way, to reframe your thinking, I guess, is ask, if my best friend felt this way, what will I tell her? If she go through this challenge, what will I tell her? And then say that to yourself. So that will be one quick check-in that you can do with yourself. And burnout prevention is about consistency. It's not about perfection. You don't have done is better than perfect. It's actually this. Yeah.
With what you're saying there, what I love, firstly, is that you have a process that doesn't take a whole lot of time. I don't need to book into a spa. It's just something I can do, within minutes. I can just regulate my system and move myself from that point. And so I was speaking to a number of women this week, and the number of women who said, oh my gosh, I'm so tired and there's just so much going on. I'm launching a new product. I have a child with ADHD, or I have people staying over, or my father is sick, or whatever. And we're balancing so many things, and having this opportunity to just stop and to just take a breath, to realize that when we put ourselves in that situation of that stress, cortisol, that our body, like, we don't want to reach that third place, right? The loss of life purpose. Why am I even doing this? So I love what you're doing. We're going to put all the details of how women can contact you if they want to work one-on-one with you, to work with some of these issues on a deeper level. But before I give you the final question I want to ask, I wanted to know if there was anything else, if someone is listening and they are exhausted, overwhelmed, feeling stuck in this way, anything else they could do today to start turning things around?
Funnily enough, the first step isn't self-care. It's just even being self-aware that this is happening. So the first step will be to pause and notice and ask yourself, what do I need right now? The thing is, us women, we always put ourselves last. Like, we're at the bottom. Everyone else, even the dog, is like the top. And then we're just last. And then I think this is really key. It's like, that's pausing, notice, asking yourself, what do I need right now? And it's okay to articulate your need right now, because all of us humans, we all want to be seen and heard and express our authentic self and what we need. So that's really important. Just naming it, like whether it's, I just need a break right now from my kids, that's fine. I need to connect with people, my friend that I haven't connected for ages, that's fine.
Right.
And just taking a break. I just want to go to the room for 10 minutes and take a break. That's fine. Just naming it, just whatever you name, creates clarity. Okay. And the second step will be this particular technique that I teach a lot of my clients, whether they're surgeons, whether they're business owners, whether they're my patients, is to get them to place their hand on their heart. I call it the hand on heart reset, and take 3 deep breaths. And after that, say, I am allowed to take care of myself. I am allowed to take care of myself.
So good.
And this immediately just soothes the nervous system, releases oxytocin, the love hormone, all that stuff. Surprisingly, just putting a hand on the heart, on the chest, just like that, And
I love it so much.
Yeah, and the third step will be just make one small self-compassionate choice. Maybe it's saying no to that unnecessary meeting. Maybe it's just taking the 10 minutes for yourself without feeling guilty at all. It's not about doing all the things. It's just about doing one small thing today.
Thank you so much. I want to just reflect back to what you said earlier about how we talk to ourselves and I've had this experience for sure. It's like I talk to myself in ways I would never speak publicly to anybody on the planet. And yet I will say things to myself. And so that's a real takeaway that I'm taking away from here, just to pay attention to that voice and go, where is that even coming from? And then to apply some of the strategies that you've given us here today. At Her Business, Olivia, as you know, our tagline is do what you love every day. So I would love to know, what does a day in business for Olivia look like when you are doing what you absolutely love?
Absolutely. A perfect day for me, it's a balanced blend of impact, connection, and restoration. So first up in the morning will be a mindful start, whether I want to do some movement exercises, journaling, and things like that, just to get clear intention for the day. Setting an intention, which, previous coaches have, taught me is very important. And it actually activates the reticular activation system and gets you, focused for the day, intention setting. And then midday, you'll find me speaking, coaching, or facilitating a powerful self-compassion workshop, whether that's in corporate organizations or hospitals, in clinics, or with young junior doctors. You'll see me there speaking to them and facilitating a workshop. And in the afternoon, when my kids come home, and we all know what that's like when the kids come home, afternoon, I'm with my family, fully present, without distractions. And evening time, just a time of reflection, gratitude, and just giving myself permission to rest. So for me, success isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters with intention and presence. That's what I've learned over the years.
Thank you so much for joining me. It has been such a treat. Thank you, Olivia.
Thank you, Susie, for having me.
What an inspiration, right? As I said during the interview, speaking with Olivia actually calmed my nervous system down. It gave me a reminder that all of us are deserving of deep self-compassion. And I know this is something I can so often forget. There's always so much to do. There's people to worry about. There's things to prioritize ahead of myself. And so this was a much needed reminder that I deserve to slow down. And I hope that you got that too. You deserve to show yourself some love. You deserve to be proud of yourself. You deserve to care for yourself. And it's not selfish to think of your own needs. It will fill your cup, or as Olivia would say, your energy bank account, and you can then pour that energy into others, your clients, your family, your friends. I so love talking with Olivia, and I hope you got as much from it as I did. If you'd like to leave us a review of this episode, I would love to hear from you, and I know that Olivia would as well. Now, I've linked all of Olivia's information and resources in the show notes for this episode, and I highly encourage you to have a look at her work. In the show notes, you'll see a link where you can buy 3 of Olivia's books in a bundle and get 50% off. And that includes her books Goodbye Busy, Hello Happy, a book called Ignite, and Women Leading the Way. And then if you have a little one in your life, maybe a child or a grandchild, you definitely want to check out the children's book that she's authored, which is called Jojo the Kind Sloth. which is just the best title. And of course, if you would like to join Olivia and other women business owners inside the Her Business Network, go ahead and join the waitlist for membership at herbusinessnetwork.com, and you'll be alerted when we open the doors next. Now, I want to give a shout out to a friend of mine. It's someone I met just a few months ago. She lives in California and she is a vet. The vet's practice is called Alternatives for Animals because she really provides alternative sorts of care for these beautiful, beautiful animals that she takes care of. And she said, I just listened to your podcast number 299 on money mindset and 296 on burnout. She said, I love them. Super helpful. Thank you. That is Karen Reddick. Karen, my love, I hope you're listening and you can hear this shout out for you. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, and I hope that you did because Dr. Ong brought so much value here, then we would love it if you would leave us a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening, or you can DM me a message anytime. You'll find us at Her Business on Instagram. Now, I've got links to Olivia's business. I've got links to her social channels. I've got links where you can buy her books. And I've put all those links over at herbusiness.com/301. Now, if you are new to the show, welcome. Be sure to subscribe to get all new episodes and join us for the next episode for more inspiring stories and lessons from some successful female entrepreneurs. See you right here next week on the Her Business Podcast.